Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Fridays with Fran, and today we have chicks hatching in our incubator. When the chicks are due to hatch, we put this lid on at the top, so as the chicks hatch in their eggs, they don't jump out the tray and end up in the bottom of the incubator. So we'll lift that off, and as you can see already, we've got 3 little chicks that have hatched. So they are all just a few hours old, and these are the eggs that they've come out of. You can see they've pecked round the top, and they pushed the lids off. Here's a lid, and they've climbed out. These 3 chicks are big enough now that they can come out and have some food and water. And then the other eggs will be left and they should still hatch. So we've got a couple still cheeping inside their eggs, so they should be out tomorrow. But we'll move these 3 over and pop them with some food and water that they can have overnight. So put this down here. And then lift the little babies in. So the chicks we're hatching at the moment are all Pekin Bantams, which are a small little fluffy breed of chick, and they grow feathers on their feet. And already our little chicks have got a little fluff down their legs. This one being yellow in colour probably end up being a white one, but the Pekin comes in all sorts of different colours, and so the chicks are also all sorts of different colours. On the end of the chick's beak you can see a very small hard spiky bit sticking up, and that's called his egg tooth, and that's what he uses to peck his way out of the egg, and that drops off within a few hours of hatching, and they end up with a smooth beak. But at the moment they've got this hard little ridge just at the very tip of their beak. I'll pop you back in with your friends. So we're just checking the eggs we've still got left to hatch, and there's a few there. None have made any cracks yet, but you can see with the light this one's moving inside his egg, which is great, and so hopefully by tomorrow morning he'll have hatched out along with the other friends still waiting. So what we'll do is we'll put them back in the incubator where it's nice and warm, and as I say, tomorrow morning this little fellow should be outside of his egg as well. Now that we've got new chicks hatching, it's time to put another tray of eggs in. So chicken eggs take 3 weeks to hatch. So we've got these eggs here, which are hopefully fertile, and we'll grow into little chicks, and we'll pop them into another incubators. As I say, 3 weeks' time, they'll be due to hatch. The incubator works by keeping it at 37 degrees, so that's the perfect temperature for keeping them warm. And up on top here, we've got a water pump, and that pumps water in, and that keeps it exactly the right humidity as well. So as well as keeping the temperature right, the humidity needs to be correct as well. And the other important thing about incubating is turning the eggs. And normally a mother hen would roll the eggs several times a day with her beak. Obviously we're not going to turn every egg by hand, it takes a long time, so we've got the magic incubator, and the shelves turn back and forth through the day, and that keeps the chick rotating in the egg so it doesn't stick to one side and keeps it growing in the middle of the egg. So we'll turn it on and it starts turning, and that should keep the eggs doing well. So we've got chicks that have just hatching, and we put a new tray of eggs into the incubator, and so now we've got to look at the 2 trays we've still got in the incubator. So one have been in for a week and one have been in for 2 weeks. What we're going to do is shine a light through each of the eggs, which is called candling, and we'll be able to see the chick growing inside, and we'll be able to pull out any that aren't growing properly, that have passed away, or any that weren't fertile. And so we'll just have the chicks that are growing well left inside the incubator. So we'll turn it nice and level, and then we can get the trays out. Okay, so we have a calendar, and tray 1 have been in there for 2 weeks. So we'll pull them out, and then we take them into a dark room so you can see it clearly. This is the first egg I've picked up, and it is growing really well. So the egg is really dark, and we can see lots of blood vessels. And occasionally we do see the little chick moving inside. That's fantastic. At the top here we've got this clear bit, and that's their airspace. So when they start to hatch, that airspace should get bigger over the next week. They'll then put their beak into that. They've got air to breathe, and then they peck from that top bit there. Just a big movement there. A big, happy, healthy live chicken there. So he's 2/3 of his way through his growth, which is brilliant. This egg here as you can see, compared to the one that was put in at exactly the same time, there is no chick growing in this one. So there's a slight shadow, which is where the egg yolk is, but other than that, it's clear and the light shines all the way through, which means that this one wasn't fertile. So there was no mating there that's been successful in fertilising the egg. So this one will go in the bin now. It'll be rather smelly if it broke. I'll put it to one side. So these big eggs is a cockerel we don't use very often. We only use the eggs occasionally because we know that his fertility isn't great. We've got another fertile one there, which is fantastic. We were a bit short of eggs that week that we put these in, which is why we used a few of these. So I'm pleased we've got 2 so far. 2 out of 5, and we've got the last one of his eggs is also empty. So not brilliant, and again we'll continue to avoid using eggs from that cockerel going forward unless we have to. And we'll just do the rest of the pekin eggs, which are the little bantams that we've been hatching. And I think all of them are fertile, so they've made up for the big chicken, which I know, 1 empty there. So the Indian game got 2 out of 6 fertile, which is disappointing to say the least, but the Pekin Bantam got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 9 fertile, so that's far better. So these eggs have only been in the incubator for 1 week, so they're going to be very different. And again, they've not been candled at all, so we'll look through them and see what we've got. So that's a really promising sign for 1 week. So you can see, compared to the others, the egg is still much clearer, but we've got a big black dot, and that's the start of the chick growing. And we've also, and it's moving slightly, and we've got a great big network of blood vessels surrounding. Again, we can still see this 1 week old little embryo, almost he will be, moving inside the egg, which is amazing. So that is a fertile one, and 2 weeks' time, this should be a fully grown chick ready to break out the egg. You can also see at the top the air pocket is even smaller than we had before. That air pocket will gradually get bigger as we go. So the shell isn't completely sealed, it's permeable, so air can go in and out, so oxygen's passing out of the egg. And then work the rest of the way through the tray. So these are all our Pekin Bantam eggs, which is what we've been aiming to set because the fertility's been much better. And there's another one, again a nice network of blood vessels and a dark shadow where the little embryo of a chick's just starting to grow. Even about 3 days after they've gone in, you start to see a little dot and some blood vessels start to appear. So you can candle as early as that, but we normally leave it a week just for confidence. So they sit in these trays with these bars, which keeps them sturdy. We try and keep the pointy end down and the airspace at the top. And then just before they're due to hatch, which is about 2 days before, we take them out of the slanty incubator that turns them back and forth. And we put them in what we call a hatcher. And that is very much like an incubator, but they just sit level and flat on the floor. And then we have the trays are separated out as well. So we pull out these little slats from the middle and the eggs then roll flat and the chicks have got space to hatch. So last thing we want is our chicks hatching on a big slope and falling down. Our first empty one, so completely clear. Again, little shadow of an egg yolk there, but there's no chick growing in that one, so that one wasn't fertile. So that egg yolk's really important. In the last couple of days before hatching, the chick starts to absorb the yolk up into its body, and that's the nutrients it uses for the first couple of days of life. So chicks don't actually have to eat for the first 2 days of their life because they've got all that energy from the egg yolk, which they absorb up into their bellies. Still good. It's a really lovely blood vessel on that one that you can see there. Very distinct blood vessels there on this one, and they all fit all the way around the egg. And a bit like a placenta in a womb, the chicks have a similar network of blood vessels around the egg. So if anything looks really black or dark, that could be a sign that the chick's passed away, and we don't want that sort of bacteria and infection left in the incubator because, as I say, the eggshells are quite permeable and sometimes infection can spread throughout the eggs and cause us to lose other chicks as we go along. So we're looking for that too. So that was 5 empty, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, good. So 5 out of 21 is not too bad. So we'll rearrange the eggs. Now we're missing a few, get them all pointy end up, and then they can go back in the incubator, which is where they need to be kept warm. And that's quite nice because they all fit in 2 slots now. So now we're happy with these ones. We'll pop them back in the incubator. And they've got 2 weeks to stay in there until they come out ready to hatch. We're hatching every week at the moment, and normally on the same day, which means we've got chicks all a week apart, same with our eggs. And then this is how much they grow in just 1 week. There's a massive difference between the two, as you can see. So even at just 1 week, they've got a large amount of feather growth, adult feather growth down their side, and they've also got these big fluffy feet feathers coming too. We absolutely love making these videos, and it's nice to keep in contact with everyone who's not able to visit the farm at different points. If you could give us a like and a subscribe, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And join us next week for another episode of Fridays with Fran. I'll be doing something else here on the farm.